Ooh. What a freaking earnings, guys. What a freaking earnings. Let's freaking go, man. Let's freaking go. AMC at 225 in the pre-market, doing exactly what we thought it would, even though the Ooh, the trend is not your friend. And we've realized that with earnings, but this is different. This is an entirely different beast. This is the best posted earnings that you have ever had on AMC stocks history, showing profit when the entire company is in debt, high interest debt, right? And the most amazing part of it all, Q2 final earnings, right? So we're going to go over this beast. We're going to attend the earnings live stream as well, and we are going to freaking absolutely have fun today. In case you guys are not aware, it is my birthday today, so this is a little birthday dual stream with AMC earnings. So for those coming in, God bless each and every single one of you. Welcome to the freaking live stream. And let's just jump straight into it, right? You were up 18% at the height of the pre-market, now sitting at around 224, up 15.4%. We're going to go to the 1 minute candles, the 5 minute candles, shorter time frames, and kind of see where we're looking like, right? So this is what our technical setup was on the shorter time frame that we had charted up. I think it was Saturday or Sunday. And thank you to everyone who's saying happy birthday in the chat, by the way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you guys. And looking at the technical chart, right, you had a little bit of a channel here or consolidation after the big pop up to 214. You're now waves above that, right? You're at 221 currently sitting in the pre-market up. And I like TradingView a little bit more for this because we can see the shorter term candles, right? So this was your falling broadening wedge that we charted up and your trend line that you had to hold, and you had a nice pop going into the end of the day to stay above that trend line. Well, we know now you are massively above this falling broadening wedge, and our technical profit target was 224 off of that rip, guys. The way you get that is you take the technical length of the falling broadening wedge, right, and you stick that on top of the breakout, which happened recently. That takes you directly where you are in price, guys. So to see this kind of price action right off the rip, absolutely amazing freaking stuff, guys. Happy born day, says Mr. Williams. Let's crack those levels. What else we got in the chat? Good morning. That wasn't just a beat. That was a statement. Yes, sir, it was. Absolutely crazy, crazy, craziness after AMC posts profitability. Guys, I don't think you guys realize how big that really is. And I want to kind of compare and show you guys a good example of this, right? GameStop. When GameStop posted profitability for the first time during Ryan Cohen's tenure, you saw a massive freaking rip. A rip that went up, I think, about 40% post-market. It dragged AMC up with it. We're going to go earnings. Give me the earnings. I think it was this move right here. 35% in after hours market. It was March 22nd of 2023 is the kind of price action that we could see today, right? And that's extremely exciting stuff. In doing so, what did you do, right? We talked pretty religiously about the gap ups and the filling of the gaps. GameStop's a great example of that, right? Gapped up from the bottom here, 72%. And then you came all the way back down, walked your way back down to fill that gap, and then ran again. That is the kind of price action that we can expect to see, baby, from AMC. Currently up $2.22 in pre-market. If you guys have been loyal followers of this channel, you know that that is a very, very big spot, right? 222 is your technical head and shoulders rejection area. So we want to see a technical close on the daily time frame above that, right? Look at where this wick was exactly at the highs of 222. You're already showing promising price action, getting above it in the pre-market, but I want to see a close and a breakout on that for AMC. All right, we're at 7:06. Let's check out the comment section really quick. Best in 104 years. That's not a sell. That's a news report. Yes, sir. AMC hype. Shaboing. Let's go. They don't want this news. Kill it at opening, but we can't let that happen. I do believe that you will see a little bit of a drawback going into the opening of the day, as you should expect, right? But I do think over the long scale of today, the earnings beat was just way, way too good for this thing to walk all the way back down. And I do think you're going to see something absolutely nasty today. I think you're going to see a ripper. I really do. I really, really, really do. All right. Let's see what kind of comments we got in the comment section. Mr. Michael Callahan. I've seen you in a couple different channels, brother. Nice to see you in ours. We deserve this, says Mr. Williams. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. On the broader picture, in case you guys are new to the channel, I wanted to give a technical outlook on what AMC has been doing, right? Looking on the weekly time frame, let's pull up the RSI. Not the RSI. There we go. Bam. There's a couple technical indicators that we've been watching for AMC within this macro falling wedge, guys. What's so fascinating here is if you get to the highs of today, you could realistically test not just the top of this rising wedge area, but also the downsloping resistance here, guys. And that's the biggest key here is you have your falling wedge resistance currently right around the top of that gap right now at like 270. And so not just only do you have this falling wedge resistance at 270, guys, but we go to the daily freaking time frame for AMC, and I just want to outline what else is at 270. What else do we got? The gap fill. The gap fill from that absolute rug when you went down about 30% from the highs here, right? 45% drawdown. Your gap fill technically was at 273. That's what we're going to be watching for AMC to potentially, right? If you see this thing get out of control and begin to spiral today, to potentially fill, right? And if you could fill that gap fill and break out after posting your first profitable earnings and your best quarterly earnings in over 106 years, this thing can get absolutely mania, right? This thing could draw mania. So very promising signal is you're actually seeing the cross up on the MACD on the daily time frame, or you should expect it going into the open today. So that is something that we were covering in our last video for AMC that you should expect to see happen, baby. So I'm actually very excited to see that happen. I'm assuming, right, that you're already breaking this downtrend in volume, or you will, which should bring with it a very nice pop in price. So altogether, guys, freaking phenomenal earnings, phenomenal chart setup. And I'm excited to see this thing go for a little rippy. Let's see, 60 people in the house. Happy B-Day. Greetings from Germany. Thank you, sir. Happy birthday. What's up, traders? 35,000 deep. Let's rip. A lot of people that I've spoken to have really taken the time in this drawdown when you're in this falling wedge to accumulate more shares. And I have nothing but certainty and honesty. Just happy for you guys who are winning at the moment. Right. This was the technical setup before you saw this crazy 105% move, and we were covering it every step of the way. Let's see, 14 cents per share. Earnings call, waiting for the earnings call. They said they'd go live 15 minutes before, so we're going to hold them to that statement. And we're going to take a little sippy whippy off of our energy drink. AMC at 224 in the pre-market. Something that we've also been watching for has been seriously important, this RSI band. And look at the way that you're literally sitting right on top of the thing. Absolutely massive stuff. If you fell beneath this, right, there was the opportunity that you see a big rejection at these levels. But what you're seeing right now is the most symbolic and honestly very important technical area to bounce off of, right? Because we talked about the bull zone. In case you guys are new, the bull zone is technically the overbought territory. That's what we call it. But every single time that you've got above the 70 on the RSI, look at the scale of the moves that occur. This is something that we were talking about very, very religiously a couple weeks ago, right? And you can see just how important that level is. I'll mark it vertically for you guys. I love to do this on the charts, just so I could see the historical correlation on when you get in to a significant area. What is the effect on price, right? And you can see the last 2 times that we've had that happen. What were they, right? Either your January squeeze and your June squeeze off of that rippy, guys. We are so close right here back in June of 2026, but you do have the opportunity here. If you break this falling wedge, break the bull zone on the RSI, to see this 227% move, this 116% move on the weekly freaking time frame. That is the kind of candle that we want to see from AMC. So let's say theoretically we fill the gap 275, we break through the bull zone. When you see AMC run, you see it run very, very quickly. At minimum, right, that 227% move takes you up to 10 freaking schmeckles, guys, or right around the mid 9s. That is the kind of momentum that I would expect from a break of this falling wedge. And truthfully, traders, we've talked about it also pretty religiously. Breaking that gets you to your test of your previous all-time low. I do believe, and I will say this again, I do believe that this will happen at some point in AMC's future, whether it be near or far, we have no idea. But I do believe at some point you're going to retest this previous all-time low and either break out of it, entering this very, very easy to move liquidity area, or potentially reject it for a retest of this falling wedge. Those are my 2 scenarios that I have for AMC in the macro time frame. But without a further ado, traders, let's kind of take a peeky weeky at the AMC earnings and see what is going on for my man Adam Aaron. AMC at 227 currently. Michael Callahan sending the rockets. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Just in time for AA to dilute again. Yes, sir. Okay, so what can be said to the report to support this momentum? I find that we'll circle back on that, Mr. Williams. Happy birthday, Night Moves. I appreciate it, man. And then Apocalypse Night Works. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the donation. $20, 20 freaking schmeckles. Everyone give that man some freaking love in the chat. Mr. Apocalyptic Knife Works. That man's an absolute OG. He's been in the channel for a while, so show him some love, guys. I super appreciate it. Happy birthday. It's my dad's B-Day. What a great day to have a B-Day. Yes, sir. As soon as I saw AMC move the earnings up to my birthday, I was like, this is too good to be true. And then you look at the price. You look at the earnings, profitability, and you look at the price. It's a beautiful, beautiful freaking day. Let's see. Get me in there, AMC. Okay, it's loading. Can you guys hear the AMC background music? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Because I want you guys to be able to hear the actual earnings call for this. But I love the background music. Let's see. How's GameStop reacting? 2190 in the pre-market. Not a lot of moves. I feel like you've definitely seen these two stocks kind of unpair between each other, but in past, when this thing ran, it used to run like crazy together. So kind of interesting to see that happen. Let's see. Yes. Just one yes. Let's see. I don't know if that answers my question. It kind of does, but I think I'd like to see more people mention. Let's see. 228 is your current price action on AMC. We're going to go through more technical analysis, going over the stock. Let's see. Yes. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. That is exactly what we wanted to see, because if we didn't, right, we'd have to figure something out. But I'm glad that you guys can hear the the orchestra right now. I may just keep that. We'll keep that going. We're going to look at the VRVP. I don't like this one. Let's see. Give me a good one. VRVP, VRVP. Let's get this full chart in here, see how it reacts. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Good morning, Vietnam. How are we doing, guys? AMC at 229. See an absolutely ripper off of the best earnings it has had in a very long time. We're taking a look at the VRVP now and seeing the freaking chart react the way it is absolutely freaking beautiful. I wanted to go over the VRVP because it's part of our overall thesis in which you could see. All right, we're turning that off. Be quiet, AMC. Mute that for now. It's part of our overall thesis in which if you get above 10 freaking schmeckles, guys, you could see this thing get crazy, right? Cracked. And that is because of the VRVP. If you guys do not know, the VRVP is the visible range volume profile. And what that tells you is where the most volume of shares has been traded. You guys remember in the past, if I've gone over it, you remember that there is a point of control in the stock. This is where the stock sees the most resistance at a horizontal level. That's because of the block of shares traded, right? You can look at the 430 area, maybe mid fours, and that is where you have, crazy volume, right? That's where it begins. You have it until $7. You see a little bit of a dip, so price could move very quickly between 7 and then 10, and then you hit another roadblock right around your previous all-time low, guys. 10.51 is the price to beat, because if you get above 10, guys, this thing really above 14, but we'll say above 10, this thing can move freaking fast, right? Because if you get above 14, that is where you hit, and we'll get rid of these vertical lines for just a second as we take a peeky weeky at the charts. If you get above 10, guys, this thing can easily move with these kind of velocity, right? This kind of move can happen very quickly because you're within that volume pocket where volume drops off. Looking at the previous two moves inside of this volume pocket, look at the way that you've just seen a straight reverse MOAS or straight freaking MOAS in the freaking stock. I would expect no different, right? The trend is your friend. 2 out of 2 times it's happened. Really, honestly, 3 out of 3 times, because once you got it into it here, right, look at the way that this thing drops off. As soon as you drop below the volume bar right here. Where is it? Right here, right? So this was your last actually relevant volume bar before you just see capitulation in the volume, like really low. Look at the way that these moves happen, right? Absolutely nosedive, 71%. Absolute reverse MOAS, 284%. Nosedive, 72%, right? And so it is no coincidence for me, in my opinion, that you are seeing these technical gap fills historically on the charts, right? This one's on the weekly freaking time frame, which is massive. Be where they are, right? You're kind of setting up a wiffle ball for AMC to go out and revisit later. So that's our technical landmarks we're watching for a potential break of this falling wedge in the macro, guys. AMC currently sitting at 225 in the pre-market, seeing the highs. I think it was 230 at one point. We'll take a little peeky weeky and revisit. I don't think it's going to tell me here. I think you did. Candlesticks? No. That's okay. Currently up 16 freaking percent, guys. Let's freaking go. You can already see some of the articles coming out on AMC. AMC Entertainment soars after strong earnings. Massive weekend for the Odyssey. AMC announces more than 4.3 million moviegoers internationally. AMC braces for huge 30% move after quarter two earnings. That's going to act as a massive squeeze potential. As you can see, the last two times you were in between these low volume pockets, your candles were massive, right? 56%, 35%, 54%, 381%. And then, of course, this one from the AMC APE conversion, 80% to the downside. I would expect a same kind of candle if you can get in that low liquidity zone. So that's what we're watching for the long-term time frame if you're able to break out of this falling wedge on the macro. But it is now 7:30. Let's kind of take a little peek at the AMC earnings.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to AMC's second quarter 2026 earnings webcast. With me this morning is Adam Aron, our Chairman and CEO, and Sean Viven, our Chief Financial Officer. Before I turn the webcast over to Adam, I'd like to remind everyone
Can we hear it in the chat? Let me know.
Today, during this webcast may contain forward-looking statements that are based on management's current expectations. Numerous risks, uncertainties, and other factors may cause actual results to differ materially from those that might be expressed today. Many of those risks and uncertainties are discussed in our most recent public filings, including our most recently filed 10-K and 10-Q. Several of the factors that will determine the company's future results are beyond the ability of the company to control or predict. In light of the uncertainties inherent in any forward-looking statements, listeners are cautioned against relying on these statements. The company undertakes no obligation to revise or update any forward-looking statements, whether as a result of new information or future events. On this webcast, we may reference non-GAAP financial measures, such as adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow, among others. For a full reconciliation of our non-GAAP measures to GAAP results, please see our earnings release posted in the investor relations section of our website early this morning. After our prepared remarks, there will be a question and answer session. This afternoon's webcast is being recorded and a replay will be available in the investor relations section of our, this morning's webcast is being recorded and a replay will be available in the investor relations section of our website later today. With that, I'll turn the call over to Adam.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us to discuss AMC's record-breaking results for the second quarter of 2026. What a quarter, what a quarter, what a quarter. In AMC's entire 106-year history, there has never been a quarter like this one. Needless to say, I'm extremely pleased to report that AMC Entertainment achieved all-time record revenue and all-time record adjusted EBITDA for the period April to June 2026. More than 71 million guests visited our theaters worldwide in the second quarter, 13.5% more than last year, drawn by one of the most powerful and diverse film slates that we've seen in years.
236 is pre-market. It's absolutely going wild.
AMC and Odeon
Draw some arrows.
14.2% year over year to approximately $1.6 billion, while adjusted EBITDA surged 70% to $321.4 million, exceeding $300 million in a quarter for the very first time ever.
Wow.
Let me say that again so that the prognosticators of doom, who have continued to vastly underestimate the will and the skill of AMC,
That's huge.
despite our having risen to meet challenge after challenge after challenge during these difficult past 6 years, can hear me clearly. AMC reported record adjusted EBITDA of $321.4 million in Q2 of 2026. That's up $132 million
Wow.
over the results of last year's second quarter. And you may recall that last year's second quarter itself was a strong one. Both second quarter revenue and
Cheers.
second quarter adjusted EBITDA exceeded Wall Street's expectations and established new all-time high points for our company. Equally important, we converted this outstanding performance into generating cash. Free cash flow for the quarter was $190.1 million. You all have known for some time that the overall industry-wide domestic box office was showing strength in the quarter. At $2.99 billion, it was the highest second quarter in 7 years. And perhaps of even greater note, of the 200 quarters in the past 50 years for which I have been able to personally scrutinize the statistics, this was the 5th best quarter ever in the past half century. Indeed, in the second quarter,
Let's
6
freaking go.
different film titles coming from Universal, Lionsgate, A24, and 3 from Disney had impressive domestic opening weekend grosses exceeding $75 million or more, in some cases, far more. But AMC did not just benefit from the rising box office tide, which, as you know, saw an overall 10.7% bump domestically. We also increased AMC's market share, as our domestic ticket revenues were up by even more, up by some 11.4%. Our European numbers also shined, as evidenced by our European attendance in the second quarter, increasing by 18% year over year. And I might add, with our European second quarter adjusted EBITDA more than quadrupling over the second quarter of a year ago. Globally in the quarter, we also successfully grew our food, beverage, and merchandise sales, which increased by 15.3%, as did our so-called, quote, other revenues, unquote, which increased by 16.1%. By now on this earnings webcast, you're probably hearing a common theme of one word being repeated over and over again. Increasing, increasing, increasing. And doing so with increases of double-digit growth. But happily, we get to use a different but equally impressive qualifier when you all take a look at just how well AMC kept a tight lid on our costs. With so much zeal in cost management, our adjusted EBITDA margin jumped from 13.6% in last year's 2Q to 20.1% in the quarter just completed. This all demonstrates the inherent operating leverage in our business model, which is significant at a time of rising revenues. The power of AMC's market-leading position stems from our size and scale, of course, but also from the compelling appeal of our theaters, the increasing numbers of our premium offerings, the prowess of our marketing programs, as well as our ability to keep our costs in check. Finally, after some admittedly tough years, as our industry recovered only slowly from the ravages of COVID-19 and its aftermath, the relentless focus of AMC on delighting our guests has seen AMC executing with all cylinders blazing so far throughout 2026. Combining both the first and second quarters of this year, AMC's revenues are up 16.9% year over year, and our adjusted EBITDA for the first 6 months of $359.7 million in the first half of 26 is considerably more than 2.5 times the $131.8 million reported in the first half of last year. Think about this as you reflect on the operating leverage inherent in AMC when revenues are rising. For the first 6 months of 2026, AMC's adjusted EBITDA is some $228 million above that achieved in the same period last year, up $228 million. As you've been learning this morning, the AMC story of 2026 includes our vastly improved operating results. But we also should speak to the enormity of the progress that we've made in strengthening the AMC balance sheet. Sean will walk you through the details in a couple of minutes. Suffice it to say, we have $1.7 billion less debt than we had at the end of 2020. Assuming static overall market benchmark rates, interest expenses decrease as our debt levels decrease, and with rising adjusted EBITDA, interest rates also decrease as our leverage ratios improve. Thanks in part to our success in generating free cash flow, and thanks in part to our success in raising equity. Take it all together, AMC had $778 million of cash on hand, excluding restricted cash, at the end of Q2 2026. And importantly, we do not expect any significant debt maturities prior to the year 2029, 3 years from now.
It's huge.
Looking ahead, we continue to be ever so optimistic. This weekend's powerful debut of Universal Pictures and Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, with an encouraging media-reported $124 million domestic opening weekend gross, is the latest reminder of the strength of today's theatrical marketplace. Indeed, we also announced this morning, in addition to second quarter earnings, that there were some 4.3 million guests in AMC theaters and Odeon cinemas this weekend from Thursday to Sunday. 4.3 million people in our theaters, big, big numbers. That outstanding debut of The Odyssey will be followed a mere 2 weeks from now by Sony's highly anticipated Spider-Man Brand New Day, for which advanced bookings
That's going to be a big one.
Yet another box office triumph is at hand. There will be more exciting movie weekends this year, especially including when Warner Brothers will be releasing Dune Part 3 and Disney will be unveiling Avengers Doomsday just before Christmas. Accordingly, we believe that movie theaters will enjoy in the full 12 months of 2026 their strongest yet post-pandemic year at both the domestic box office and at the global box office. The summary of 2026 so far is that our strategy, our execution, and our preparation at AMC all came together as the recovery
God's
box office
native gift. Look at the
met a
screen really quick,
strong,
brother.
lean,
Cash and cash
well
equivalents
positioned
free
market leader
as of June 30th,
in the largest
2026 is going to be
movie theater chain on earth,
778 million.
AMC. In short,
Almost double of last year.
$321.4 million of adjusted EBITDA, the best in 106 years. What a quarter, what a quarter, what a quarter. With that, I'll turn the call over to Sean Goodman, our CFO, who will walk you through our second quarter financial results in greater detail. After that, I'll return to highlight some of the consequential strategies and actions that encourage us greatly as we move forward. Sean?
Thank you, Adam, and good morning to everyone. We are indeed proud of the Q2 results. They delivered the highest quarterly revenue and adjusted EBITDA in AMC's entire history.
Wow.
We did not simply benefit from a stronger industry box office, we outperformed. In the United States, admissions revenue increased by 11.4%, approximately 70 basis points ahead of the industry box office growth that was 10.7%. And in Europe, our attendance increased by 17.9%, and that's approximately 170 basis points ahead of the relevant industry attendance growth.
He sounds like AI.
Of our
That's
initiatives
hilarious.
around the market share, per patron profit, cost management, and portfolio optimization.
We've had this guy for a while,
of
so I
operating leverage
recognize his voice pretty
drove
well.
Second quarter adjusted EBITDA up 70% to the record $321 million. That is more than $30 million ahead of the previous record that was achieved almost 9 years ago when our attendance was approximately 23% higher.
Wow.
Comparing Q2 2026 results to the prior year, approximately $200 million of incremental revenue generated $131.9 million of additional adjusted EBITDA. That's a roughly 66% flow through that drove our adjusted EBITDA margin up 650 basis points to 20.1%. The second quarter's performance was broad-based across our global circuit, with food and beverage revenue per patron and total revenue per patron hitting new all-time highs in both the domestic and the international businesses. In the United States, adjusted EBITDA increased by 57.5% year over year to $285.6 million, while in Europe, adjusted EBITDA increased by 337% to $35.8 million. Note that when comparing our second quarter 2026 results to the prior year, international revenue and EBITDA benefited by approximately 2% from European currency appreciation versus the US dollar. And also note that 2026 general and administrative expenses benefited from an approximately $5.5 million credit associated with insurance recoveries. It's informative to compare our results this quarter to the second quarter of 2019. That was before the onset of the pandemic and before the strategic actions that we have taken over the last 6.5 years.
Mike, you're spot on, man.
In this year's second quarter, the North American box office was approximately 7.5% less than the second quarter of 2019. Yet in Q2 2026, AMC generated 6% more revenue and 39.5% more adjusted EBITDA than we did in Q2 2019, with attendance at our theaters approximately 26 million people or 26.5% less than in 2019. So we generated more revenue and significantly more adjusted EBITDA in a lower box office environment after 7 years of inflationary cost pressures and with approximately 16% fewer theater locations. This very clearly illustrates that we do not need the box office to return to pre-pandemic levels to achieve the same levels of EBITDA. This is because of the actions that we have taken and that we continue to take to enhance our market share, grow profit per patron, reduce our cost base, optimize our theater portfolio, and invest in the guest experience. During the second quarter, we closed 7 theaters and introduced 6 new premium large format and 25 new XL or extra large auditoriums. Since 2020, we have now closed 225 locations. We've opened 66 for a net reduction of 159 theaters, or approximately 16% of our global circuit. We have at the same time also added 77 premium large format and 193 XL or extra large auditoriums. This increases the number of premium or enhanced auditorium options available to our guests by more than 50%. Now let's move to the balance sheet. Our priorities are clear. 1, maintain sufficient liquidity. 2, reduce borrowing costs and extend maturities. 3, lower financial leverage. And 4, invest in high return opportunities that enhance the movie-going experience at AMC. During the quarter, we successfully refinanced $400 million of debt that was due in 2027, thereby extending the maturity by 4 years. We also eliminated approximately $155.8 million of exchangeable debt that was due in 2030 through its conversion into equity. And we completed $150 million of at-the-market equity offering, raising more than $85 million of gross proceeds during the second quarter. In addition, we recently completed a $200 million registered direct equity offering with several institutional investors. Following the closing of that transaction, we exercised our right to redeem the remaining $125.5 million of 6.8% senior subordinated notes due in 2027. This redemption is subject to a 30-day notice period, and as such, the subordinated notes will be redeemed on July 24, 2026. As a result of the debt refinancing and repayment actions taken in the second quarter, we do not anticipate any material debt principal payments required prior to 2029, and our go-forward annual cash interest expense will be reduced by approximately $16 million. Our outstanding first half of 2026 financial performance, together with a meaningful improvement in the balance sheet, has resulted in a substantial reduction in our financial leverage ratios. And thanks to the terms that we negotiated in our various debt documents, the financial leverage reduction achieved during the second quarter is expected to trigger a reduction in the interest rate paid on approximately 75% of our debt.
Wow.
This will result in a lowering of the annual interest expenses by approximately $51 million. Yet another significant step in the transformation that we've been driving over the last 6 years. At the end of June, thanks to free cash flow generation of $190.1 million and the benefit of the capital raised during the quarter, our cash on hand was $778 million, excluding $42 million of restricted cash. It is important to note that on July 24th of this year, $125.5 million of cash will go out to be used for the redemption of our subordinated debt. As you may recall, our working capital cycle is closely tied to the seasonality of the box office. Generally, this has resulted in a positive cash impact from working capital in the second and fourth quarters, and a negative cash impact in the first and third quarters. And we do expect this cadence to continue through 2026. With a strengthening balance sheet, enhanced cash position, and a resurgent box office, we're continuing to execute on the highly successful AMC Go plan. And we expect net CapEx for 2026 to be between $200 and $235 million. As we look ahead, we are optimistic about the ongoing recovery of the global box office and confident in our ability to convert box office growth into significant growth in profit, cash flow, and ultimately shareholder value. And with that, I will turn the call back over to Adam.
Thank you, Sean. I want to briefly address a few key topics, 6 to be specific, before turning to your questions. First, one of the reasons AMC continues to outperform is the strength of the relationships that we have built with our guests through our industry-leading loyalty programs. More than 40 million U.S. households, for example, have participated in our AMC Stubs loyalty program, creating a direct and ongoing relationship between AMC and our guests. It is especially helpful that we know exactly which movie genres and which movie titles they have seen in our theaters. Through our loyalty programs, we're then able to develop a valuable understanding of our guests, reward their patronage, and encourage them to visit our theaters for the movies that they most like more often. AMC Stubs members represented just more than 50% of our total U.S. guest count in the second quarter. Second, benefiting from our many best practices learnings from our highly successful limitless subscription programs in Europe, I cannot rave enough about the success of our A-List subscription program in the United States, the one that lets you see up to 4 movies a week,
apocalyptic knife works hilarious,
fee of somewhere between $24 and $30 a month plus tax. At the end of the second quarter, more than 1.1 million moviegoers were members of our A-List program, more than double the membership that AMC's A-List had just 5 years ago. A-List is such a popular program, especially among Gen Z moviegoers, and it gives AMC a more consistent and increasingly more predictable cadence to welcome a younger generation to flock to movie theaters, as their parents and grandparents did before them for decade after decade, dating back a full century or more. Indeed, A-listers who also get to participate in our AMC Stubs loyalty program were responsible for right around 20% of all AMC theater patronage in the U.S. during the second quarter. Think about that. 1.1 million people out of the 330 million Americans are so loyal to AMC that they represented about 20% of our movie-going customers in the second quarter, which itself was so successful. Third, Sean often mentions with great satisfaction our closing non-performing theaters and opening shiny new ones. What is so impressive here is that the theaters that we're opening so outgross and have so much more combined profitability than the theaters that we've shut. What's more, our willingness to do so also has given us the credibility we need in the theater landlord community to successfully renegotiate and receive much more attractive lease terms on many of the theaters that routinely come up for renewal each and every year. Fourth, AMC is the movie theater chain that led the way with recliner seating, both in the U.S.
Don't stutter.
and
Don't
at
do
our
it.
Lux branded theaters across Europe. Ironically, many of our highest grossing theaters simply can't take reclining seats because they require so much seat loss. We just can't afford to give up those seats in theaters that are so thoroughly patronized. Fortunately, we have a solution to this conundrum. Our relatively new branded AMC Club Rocker seat is much more attractive and much more comfortable than the seats that preceded it. The seat loss is but a fraction of the seating given up to install full recliners. And it also costs only a fraction to deploy
AMC
the
near the
Club
highs at
Rockers
228 in pre-market,
compared
approaching
to what
your
we
229
previously
resistance.
were
That if
investing.
you get above, guys, this thing can go
The
absolutely
AMC
crazy.
Club
AMC getting
Rocker
to 229,
propelled
potentially
AMC
getting above
Burbank,
this resistance. It's going to be
AMC
very important to
Lincoln
see.
Square, and AMC Empire to be among the highest grossing theaters across the entire country week after week after week. Just as it has been for the past several years, we will remain highly disciplined
229.
with our capital expenditures efforts. But even so, we have figured out a way to relatively inexpensively get more of these Club Rockers into more of our top performing theaters, which will make them even that much more appealing to moviegoers. Fifth, I've noticed that many analysts have been writing recently about the power of extra large format and premium large format screens. I want to remind you how much of a commanding lead AMC enjoys, most importantly with IMAX and with Dolby Cinema, among others, along with our house brands, consumer preferred premium products all, and proudly featured in the world of AMC in the US and Odeon in Europe. Globally, AMC and Odeon now have deployed and operating some 226 IMAX screens, 182 Dolby screens, 83 iSense screens, 47 Prime screens, 14 ScreenX and 40X screens, along with 193 XL screens.
God's native
Just
gift.
about 750 in total. No other movie theater chain on earth comes even close. And these auditoriums are so popular. They represent only about 8% of our total screen count. But for the Odyssey this weekend, for example, they generated more than 50% of our total ticket gross for the film. IMAX especially performed fabulously well with the Odyssey. Chris Nolan's epic movie was filmed entirely with IMAX cameras, and our IMAX auditoriums are just packed right now. That's a real triumph for both IMAX and for AMC. It's no surprise then why AMC and Odeon are so committed to further increasing the number of our PLF and XLF screens. Mostly using third-party capital to get there, I think that we can affordably increase that total count of our PLFs and XLFs by 100 and 250 more auditoriums over the next 2 to 4 years. And finally, sixth, I really want to salute our headquarters staff and our theater teams in the field for the creative ways in which they have controlled costs so far in 2026. It would almost be not mind-numbing on this webcast today to try to walk you through all the line items on which we've been vigilant in keeping costs in check. But you should know that our success in the second quarter in driving more EBITDA than almost any of you expected, came from our determined efforts, first to get revenues growing, but to get them growing at a far faster pace than that of expense growth. With that, Sean and I would be pleased to take your questions from analysts and our
Going to be
retail
interested in the
shareholders
questions.
following a quarter in which I forgot to mention it before, generated some $321.4 million, a 106-year record for AMC.
Thank you. If you'd like to ask a question, press star 1 on your keypad. To leave the queue at any time, press star 2. Once again, that is star 1 to ask a question, and we'll pause for a moment to allow everyone a chance to join the queue. And our first question today comes from Mike Hickey with StoneX. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hey, Adam, Sean, John, congrats, guys, on a incredible 2Q, strong first half performance. 2 questions, Adam. The first is probably your point 6 on your team's cost discipline here, which has been exceptional, holding your OPEX basically flat in 2Q. How sustainable do you think that cost discipline is in the second half? And would you expect continued revenue growth to drive similar operating leverage?
Thanks, Mike. And by the way, Mike, our top lawyer at Weil Gotshal is named Michael Hickey. So it's very confusing. It's very confusing. Thanks for your nice words about the quarter. It was quite a good one. There were a few one-time items in the second quarter last year and this year. So I don't know if we'll have exactly the same expense growth going forward, expense growth containment going forward as we had at Q2, but that's a small piece of what was going on in Q2. What was really going on in Q2 is just we really contained costs. And I'm so proud of our people because it took, 30,000 of them across 850 theaters, as well as in our headquarters organizations in Europe and the U.S. to pull it off. We're going to be maniacal in continuing to try to keep our costs down. Will we have the full 700 basis point improvement in adjusted EBITDA margin every quarter going forward that we had in Q2? I guess that remains to be seen based on how strong the revenues are and how much we can keep a lid on costs. But we're going to do everything in our power to maximize and drive revenue growth and keep costs under control.
Thanks, Adam. The free cash flow also exceptional, $190 million free cash flow in 2Q. I guess at this point, and I know that you've brought your leverage down, you reduced your interest expense. That all seems very positive for the second half and overall annually. Do you have a sense at this point the level of box office that would be required for you to consistently generate positive free cash flow moving forward?
To how many decimal points would you like that answer? We know exactly what the break-even box office needs to be for us to be free cash flow positive on a 12-month basis. Right now, it's right around $10.4 billion, which is so impressive because if you compare what it was back in 2019, pre-pandemic, add 7 years of inflationary costs and wage pressure, among other things, and everything is more expensive that we buy, because as everything that everyone buys is more expensive over 7 years. You would have thought the break-even box office would have been much higher, but we've done such a great job in increasing our profit per patron and controlling our costs. We're within sight of being cash flow positive, not for a quarter, but for a year. And the efforts to continue to drive that break-even box office level downwards continue. If in fact we are successful in continuing to get lower interest rates going forward, and Sean deserves to be justifiably proud of having built some automatic triggers into our various debt instruments, that as our leverage ratios improve, our interest rates fall, and that's exactly what's happening right now with the strong operating results from the second quarter and having paid off or converted into equity a bunch of our debt so far this year. If interest expense goes down, that means that the break-even box office level goes down as well. As I said to your earlier question, Mike, we're going to continue to do all in our power to drive revenues. Remember that something like 2/3 of our incremental revenue dollar falls to the EBITDA line. And we're going to do everything in our power to keep costs under control. We're not quite at break-even neutral for the full year, but boy, are we close, and there's so much improvement over we've been since 2019.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you. And our next question will come from Alicia Reese with Wedbush. Your line is now open.
Thanks. Great numbers, guys. Congrats on the quarter. I have a couple questions about international. Just looking at the admissions revenue per screen growth of 20% year over year, and that's on a 34% growth last year in the second quarter. And some really nice growth in the first quarter, strong expectations for the back half of the year with a good slate. I wonder if you could talk about, you had mentioned about 250 more premium large format screens expected for the full, I think, global print over the next 2 to 4 years. To what extent have you completed your upgrades in Europe, and are those driving results? And to what extent are you still taking that 250 and driving that higher?
Alicia, I'm going to let Sean answer your question because our international theaters actually report to Sean in addition to his CFO duties. But I just want to clarify one thing. What I said on my prepared remarks is that we'll do somewhere between 150 and 250 more premium format and extra large format screens, the so-called XL at AMC screens in the US and XL screens in Europe. We have 193 of them now. I'm sure that we can add 100 more, maybe more than that, across the US and Europe going forward. So there's a lot of opportunity to add more screens. And we do get a healthy price premium for our premium products. Here in the US, for example, our IMAX auditoriums, our Dolby Cinema auditoriums, usually are carrying something like a $6 or $7 price premium over a traditional auditorium. Our Prime auditoriums and our iSense auditoriums are also commanding healthy premiums, and even our XL screens are commanding smaller price premiums, but price premiums nonetheless, basically up maybe 10% above normal auditorium pricing. And not only do we get higher prices for these premium products, but they're also the auditoriums that book first And you just need to look at this one weekend on Odyssey that our premium and extra large format screens were 8% of our screens, but 50% of our growth. I mean, you know, the premium format screens and extra large format screens have the generating power of, you know, 6 times that of a normal auditorium. So you can be sure that we're going to do all in our power to increase the number of IMAX auditoriums in our system, Dolby Cinema auditoriums in our system, ScreenX and 4DX auditoriums in our system, and our house brand Prime and iSense auditoriums and our XL screens. With that, do you want to make a further comment, Sean, about Europe?
Thanks, Adam, and thanks, Alicia, for the question. We are very fortunate because, in line with what Adam is saying, we have a very long list of extremely high return projects, longer list than we could afford to actually invest one particular point in time. We're also fortunate that we're able to get co-funding from our technology partners, from our landlords, to do investments in our theaters. The opportunity in Europe is pretty much the same as it is in the US. The recliner penetration in Europe is actually quite significant lower than in the US, so there's an increased opportunity with recliner penetration. The Lux theater conversions that we've done in Europe have generated extremely high returns. And so those opportunities exist, and you know, we're spending at the moment pretty much a proportionate amount of capital in the US and Europe, and on these very, very high return projects.
And I might add, for as excited as we are about the current profitability in the second quarter of AMC, there's so much operating leverage in our company that when revenues rise, EBITDA rises at a much more rapid clip. And as Sean said, there are a lot of growth opportunities that we look at, but I don't want anyone to have the wrong takeaway from this conversation. As you look at the last 6 years, AMC has been incredibly disciplined in our capital expenditure efforts. We've skinny down CapEx and embraced only the most obvious successful products and projects. We intend to continue to be extraordinarily disciplined in our capital expenditure process as we go forward.
And as a quick follow-up, can you just discuss briefly the ROI on the European recliner upgrades and just compare that to US back when you were doing that, and the premium and large format screens as well? Is the ROI similar to US?
Yes is the simple answer, and they vary project by project, but it's not uncommon for us to see ROIs achieved of 30% or more, 40% or more, 50% or more. On the XL screens, they were so inexpensive to create because the screens already existed. We just didn't necessarily market that we had them. The IRR of the XL screens is pretty much infinite. Our total cost.
AMC in a falling wedge here, going into the actual market open at 8:17. Not to interrupt.
For which we're getting a 10% price premium in perpetuity, at least if current pricing.
AMC breaking down a little bit below this horizontal support.
About pricing. But
seeing a little bit more elevated volatility here.
Expenditures for an XL screen were under $20,000 a screen. I mean, that is, the returns are really high when you can create a product of close to 200 screens globally.
AMC fighting to get back above this horizontal resistance.
Very little money doing.
And I'll add, to that as well, as one would expect, the returns are also really high when you can get co-funding from your landlords or your technology providers as well. And given what I said at the beginning about a long list of very high return projects, because of that and because of our disciplined approach to capital spending, we're investing in the highest return of those projects. So we're really investing in very high return projects that are going to be beneficial to our revenue and profit growth going forward.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your responses, and congrats again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Amy, you dirty birdie.
Thank you.
Closed
And
a
our
green
next question comes
doji.
from
That is
Chad
actually a
Byron
really good
with
sign for a
Macquarie.
reversal here,
Your
back
line is
inside
now
the falling
open.
wedge. Come on.
Hey, good morning, Adam and Sean.
Come on, do
nice
it.
quarter. Thanks for taking my question. Wanted to ask just about the
AMC back inside the
per-patron
falling wedge.
spending metrics. Obviously, this industry has always been affordable compared to other out-of-home
You dirty birdie.
options, particularly what we're seeing with World Cup pricing, concerts this summer and a number of other subsectors. But how are you thinking about pricing opportunities? I know you've already talked a lot about, premium format and kind of what that does to pricing. But are there still opportunities? Either on
AMC
admissions or
popping back above the
concessions
horizontal
in the back half
resistance,
of
going into the
year
1 minute
27,
9-day
to
EMA.
keep raising pricing. Thank you.
So, Chad, I was
AMC
schooled as
getting
a
back
young
above the
marketer
1 minute 9-day
that
EMA.
is patently illegal for me to talk about pricing strategies
Look at
on
that
a
candle.
going forward basis. So I'm not trying to duck your question, but I
Finding
can't answer your
resistance.
question. But I can answer your questions a different way. What I'm very proud of, looking backwards, not looking forwards, is AMC has done a really successful job of raising price where we should when demand is strong and reducing price where we should so that bargain hunters can find appealing ways to get into our buildings and buy stuff from us profitably. And just some examples. Last July, for the last more than a decade, the movie theater industry has had cheap pricing on Tuesday. Last July, AMC took that cheap pricing on Tuesdays.
AMC seen a little bit of a
And
breakout here.
Instead, added another second discount day by introducing cheap prices on Wednesdays.
Native, you're
50%
You're
on
hilarious.
Wednesdays. 50%
Some people
on
call me the
Tuesdays.
gangsta of love.
It was brilliant, if I do say so myself, because prior to that effort, we didn't have anybody in our movie theaters on Wednesdays to speak of. And now Wednesdays is a strong day for us. So there's an example where reducing price worked. Another example of reducing price, A-list. Now 20% of our patronage. Our A-list members have the right to go to
Do it.
four movies a week. That's 17 movies a month.
Do it.
They don't go to 17 movies a month.
Oh,
They go to two and three movies a month.
it's
But
out.
they have the right to. They can do.
Come on,
Some
follow
do,
through.
Like many occasionally do a lot more than 2 or 3 in a particular month. But this has given us a great opportunity to drive moviegoing to secondary movies that might not have made the blockbuster cut, and also allow us to sell more food. So there are examples where we have reduced price. But as you say, we have certainly not been shy at AMC in raising price for our premium offerings on weekends, for our blockbuster titles. I could give you example after example after example where we have proven to ourselves and to the outside world that
AMC seen a nice
again,
pop off of that
backwards,
break
not
of
looking
the
forwards,
previous
that there
downtrend.
has been price opportunity.
We want to see it stay above the 9
and that
EMA
AMC
here.
has smartly been able to take it. And if you compare the average ticket price that AMC achieves, and you compare that
Native, I love you,
to
man.
all the other large mass operators, you're going to continue to find and believe that AMC is more successful in commanding higher ticket pricing than our competition. That is a testimony to our proven ability to smartly price, both in having raised prices where we should and having reduced
It
prices.
is indeed my birthday.
where we
Thank
should.
you, brother.
And if I could add just one thing, is that we shouldn't completely equate revenue per patron increases to price increases, right? Because in the case, for example, their average ticket price, significant portion of that increase is driven by the mix. More guests choosing to go to premium formats and willing to pay for that price. In the case of food and beverage per patron, is driven by us introducing of the movie-themed popcorn containers, which have been incredibly successful. Now, if you look even at the case of our other revenue, it's driven by adding new revenue
Merlin
streams.
Mom shouting out the
popcorn,
thumbs up.
etc.
Come on, guys.
So we can grow our revenue per patron without necessarily increasing price. It's providing new opportunities for audiences to go to premium formats, providing new movie-themed content, movie-themed merchandise, etc., to excite the movie-going experience, etc. That drives the revenue per patron up as well.
And we are cognizant that the market's opening in 7 minutes, so we're going to make sure we try to be quick. But I'm just so proud of this. I keep bursting at the seams. 4 years ago, our movie-themed merchandise business had revenues of zero. Because we were
5 minute countdown, guys. Top right of the screen.
2026,
full year. When you add up our U.S. movie-themed merchandise and our European movie-themed merchandise,
AMC stuck at
we
224.
should exceed $100 million in movie-themed merchandise in our various theaters. Like, that's out of thin air. Good for us.
Much love. Much love. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you both. I'll leave it there. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Whoa. Whoa.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Patrick Scholl with Barrington Research. Your line is now open.
Hi. Good morning. Thanks for taking the question, and congrats on the record results. Just following up on Mike's question on maybe like the level of box office. Is there like a level of box office or leverage level, and you've made great progress on that over the past few years, but like a leverage level where you'd be more comfortable with the balance sheet?
It's not the leverage level that we've had over the past 6 years, and that's why we've been reducing our debt every year since then. As you can see from our 2026 June results, leverage
Low
level
volume
has
push
improved
down.
considerably. But I want to be quite clear, that is not the leverage level that our goal is to get to as well. We know that there's further to go. And we will get there by continuing to reduce the principal balance of the debt and also by increasing EBITDA. Ultimately, and it's going to take a little while to get there, we'd like to get to around a 3 times leverage level. We recognize that's not where we are now, but look at the significant change in the leverage level that has happened over just the last 6 months. You know, we went from a double-digit leverage level to now what looks like a leverage level that is less than 6.5 times. So a very significant improvement, and we'll continue to work towards continuing to make those significant improvements.
Okay, thank you. And then on your updated expectations on CapEx, is that an
Happy belated
expectation that you
birthday,
would have going forward, or
Jeremy.
is that kind of timing and just increasing some of the projects ahead of, like, you know, the Q4 slate, or is that also what you alluded to earlier with
AMC pinned
increased
inside of this
lease
falling
incentives
wedge.
from
We
the-
will
from the
see in the
landlords?
next
Just
couple
a little bit
minutes
more,
what's going to happen
kind
here.
of color around that. Thank you.
Kind of exciting.
I wouldn't read anything into future years with that because, as Adam said earlier, we're incredibly disciplined on our CapEx spend, and it will be very box office dependent. We,
Don't
as
do
we
it,
said
Amy.
earlier on
Don't
this
do it.
call, have just
Don't
such
freaking
incredible
do it.
opportunities to spend money this year and
Yes, sir.
create
Come on.
significant ROI that
Come
will
on.
benefit the results, but we've taken advantage of the opportunity to do that. We're doing that this year, and we'll have to look at 2027 CapEx, look at the individual projects, look at our expectations for the box office, etc., and at that point decide what our CapEx spend, what appropriate level will be for 27 and going forward.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
AMC back outside the falling wedge.
Thank you. At this time, there are no further questions in queue. I will now turn the meeting back to Sean Goodman.
Thank you very much. Adam, I think there's time for just one quick question from our retail investors. So the question relates to equity and capital markets, and the question...
They're still going. We got 59 seconds until the countdown of the opening is over.
And just a question to discuss the rationale for these equity raises and why they are important to AMC, our business.
Thank you, Sean. We've raised a lot of equity over the past 6 years, and that's why when other movie theater chains went into bankruptcy or liquidation, AMC did not. But even we know that the issuance of stock is a precious commodity. We don't issue it lightly. We think very hard about how much equity.
I don't like this conversation, Adam.
And when.
1, 0. Ding, 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 ding. Stock market is officially open. 8:30 Central Standard Time.
In the case of the equity.
No. What is that?
In the second quarter this year, we had a debt maturity
what is that candle?
Up less than a year
what
from
is
now.
That candle?
We needed to repay
that is so funny.
$125.5 million.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
What the frick was that glitch? I don't know if you guys saw that.
The alternative to not repaying that debt would have been catastrophic.
Jeez, Louise.
So we made sure that we raised the cash we needed to prosper. Having said that, we also know, I've said many times.
2 scenarios here, traders. 2 freaking scenarios here. That was a funny live.
That separated the companies that survived COVID and the Hollywood strikes is that they had cash in the bank. And the companies that did not have cash in the bank.
AMC back inside the falling wedge, showing a little strength here on the 1 minute time frame. AMC breaking out of the falling wedge after dipping on the freaking market open. The volatility here is pretty crazy. AMC seen a breakout, baby. Let's freaking go, man. AMC currently trading at 226. 226. Look at the volatility pick up here. The volume was crazy on the 1 minute. 3 million shares traded in volume on the 1 minute, shaking out the stop losses as this thing pushes 228, seeing the highs of pre-market almost.
The end of 2020 and the beginning of 2026.
Let's get this thing shared, liked, subscribed. 229 is being tested next, guys. 229 just wicked there.
A better film slate.
Oh,
and a more successful company.
Come on. 230 being pushed right now in the live market as we trade here. 230 wicked. 230 wicked here. So you cleared this valley on this freaking run. Wow. Wow. Okay. 230 wicked again. 230.
So while the decisions we made were not always popular.
A little bit of a tweezer top here. Be careful, guys.
We knew that they were absolutely essential for our
a little bit of a tweezer top. Might come back to the 50 minute EMA.
To get to the promised land.
Okay.
We're not quite at the promised land.
Come on,
yet,
Amy.
Because
take me to the promised land, Amy.
Cash flow positive in Q2. We got a little way to go to be free cash flow positive for a full 12-month year, but we're ever so close. And as I said, we ended the second quarter with $778 million of cash on hand. Tough decisions, but they were made with great care and deliberation.
230. 230 tapped again, guys.
I think the market's opening, so we're going to
231 wicked here in the 1 minute candle. You just made another high.
All of you for participating today, both our analyst community and our retail shareholders who joined the webcast. And I leave you with 3 simple thoughts, which are not going to be a surprise to any of you. Number 1, holy moly, what a quarter we just completed. The best
holy
in 106
moly.
years with $321.4 million of EBITDA. Number 2, if you were one of the 4.3 million people in our theaters this weekend who reveled at the Odyssey, it's got a 95% score from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 97% score from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. I would strongly encourage you, buy a movie theater ticket, go out and see the Odyssey on a giant screen. It's how that movie was meant to be seen, and you're in for 2 hours and 50 minutes of extraordinary entertainment. And 3, while I think the Odyssey is going to have legs for many, many weeks, just 2 weeks from now, Spider-Man Brand New Day will open in our theaters as well. And our theory, based on the advanced bookings that we've seen, is with all these good movies that have come out this year, especially in the second quarter, 6 movies opening to $75 million or more, Toy Story 5 coming out to $140 million opening.
Ooh, that's a big wick down, guys, but you are retesting the lows here.
Opening. We think that
retesting a horizontal strength.
Biggest movie of the year so far. So
wicking below it, potentially going for this wedge.
A lot of movies for you to choose from this week, this month,
going for the wedge retest,
and throughout the remainder of calendar year 26.
Getting a wick off of the wedge here.
For joining.
Come on, Amy. Come on, Amy. Come on, Amy. Come on.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of today's meeting.
Come on.
We appreciate your time and participation.
Wick, baby, wick.
You may now disconnect.
Wick, baby, wick. Wick, baby, wick. What a freaking earnings call from AMC. And we're going to jump straight into the charts because the charts are very telling right now. You had a full breakout and coming all the way back down to potentially wick as a retest off of this falling wedge. The volume coming in here a little bit as you see a long candle wick here. I hope it closes at the highs. And then you could see this very strong bounce off, but we're going to have to see the candle close on the 1 minute. And you close, guys, long wick candle. You should hopefully see a bounce here. We're going to watch and see as you're currently below this horizontal resistance that we've drawn up from these multiple candle wicks. Need to see a bounce back above, what is this, 219 to 220. Continuing down, AMC. Crazy, crazy volume, 2 million. Oh, God. What's it on the daily? So far. Delete some of these lines. So the full profit target of that move was hit, and you came straight into your 229 resistance here. You have a little bit of a gap up on the daily time frame. So worst case scenario, you come back down right around, what is the high here? 205 is your technical gap fill on the daily as of right now. The volume on the day already hitting 24.63 million, which is absolutely tremendous, guys. Absolutely huge. Absolutely freaking huge. You can see from that move down, the volume was big, but you see an overall downtrend in volume here. That's showing a little bit of exhaustion from the bears. AMC up 2.63% on the day after the earnings call. I'd like to see this continue to scale up here. What is SPY sitting at? SPY is currently off of the gap up. So we have SPY, the broader market, in our favor here, gapping up below this downtrend and resistance, potentially already getting that gap fill that we were watching in the freaking pre-market. 747 was the gap fill. You've officially gotten that. So watching for a potential rejection or continuation off of SPY here. Bullish for AMC right now. Bullish price action. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Currently have established a new uptrend here off of the earnings call on the 1 minute. We'll see if that holds. We will see if that holds. Let's give this about 5 more minutes of price action as AMC getting back above 222, a very key price to watch for. If AMC continues ripping here, we're going to continue covering it. But if not, we're going to kind of get into some of the Q2 earnings. Did IWM gap up also? I got you, brother. IWM, go. IWM did also gap up, showing a breakout of that larger structure that we've been talking about for quite some time, right? Ever since the all-time high at 302, you've now officially broken out of that, so we're watching for that. But AMC now showing a green candle on the day with massive freaking volume, guys. Seeing a little bit of a follow-through and a break off of that volume downtrend like we talked about at a key point in time. You need to see this follow-through to go and make another higher high here. If you can, guys, it looks freaking phenomenal for AMC. Wow. Come on, don't do this. Don't do this to me, Amy. Shooting star candle. Wow. Crazy volume just came in there. 2.7 million shares, the most since the earnings market open. Wow. GME dumping it open. I haven't even looked at GME, to be honest with you. AMC seeing some nice follow through, an inverted bullish hammer candle, and boom, right? Look at that whole body wick. Come on, baby. There we go. Come on. Come on, Amy. Making another higher on the local time frame. Seeing 228 on AMC. Only in Paradise being an absolute bear. Here he goes. Oh, man. Let's see. I'm rooting for AMC. I'm rooting for the community. Anyone making money right now, I'm absolutely stoked for. We'll take a little peeky weeky at GME and see what it's doing while not taking our eye off of AMC. You have a nice opportunity here to close above 229, which is going to be the absolute pivotal point for AMC. If you can get back above 229 and start to close this gap out throughout the day, this thing can get absolutely squeezy here with the technical gap at 273, guys. You have not gotten above 229, and you have very little resistance until 250 because of this wick right here. 247 is your technical resistance on the short-term time frame. So that's what we're watching for on AMC. We'll check out GameStop right now. GameStop seeing a little bit of a dump off of open. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. Seeing a high wicked candle. I am not worried about this at all. 1-hour chart. Some decent volume coming in there on the 1 hour. Let's see. In real time, you have a touch of bullish divergence on the 5 minute. Whether or not it holds, we're going to have to see, but a lower low on stock price, higher low on the RSI. So for GameStop, that's something we're watching right now as you see volume come in off of open. That's pretty interesting. But AMC currently sitting at 222 and still holding above this ascending level of support. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not you can continue to hold this and find a higher low. You've officially made a touch of lower low or a lower high here, excuse me. So it's very interesting to see how this kind of plays out, what formation we get, and can we break this downtrend in price, because this is going to meet its maker right about 6 minutes from now. So 6 1-minute candles, we'll see either a breakdown or break up from this triangular formation. So pretty interesting stuff right now. You had a bearish engulfing candle the last candle, but AMC still pushing after wicking off of the 1-minute 200. So bullish price action overall, in my opinion. Let's see. The Bears, only in paradise. Hey, AMC seen a little bit of a wick outside of this resistance. We are not matching. Yeah, there might be a 1-minute delay. Woo-wee. AMC seen a little bit of a breakout here off of the downtrend in resistance. I want to see volume come in here. Otherwise, you may see this thing kind of spill back over and make a double top. On the daily candle, you look freaking gorgeous, guys. Absolutely freaking gorgeous. And to be honest, you could not have had a better result from this daily candle. You really just could not have. I mean, the daily gap is not ideal, but look at the RSI on the freaking daily time frame. You had a break above the 50 line and the RSI band and a retest of both with a nice bounce. Now testing 230 on the daily time frame. What that's going to do is you have the opportunity to create a high volume hammer candle off of this amazing earnings. AMC officially touching 230, getting above that 229 resistance is going to be absolutely huge for a larger scale move today. As you can see, between these two resistances, you move very quickly, and that's about an 8% variation, already up 18%. You have the opportunity to run upwards of freaking 26% today. And that is huge, guys. Absolutely freaking huge. 231 on AMC. Thank you, Only in Paradise. I love you, man. Regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, I appreciate the happy birthday wish. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And no better birthday than an AMC breakout birthday, guys. Absolutely huge. Absolutely freaking huge. AMC now up 18.19. Oh, 20% up on the day. 233 is the new freaking high on the market hours. This is huge. 233. You're starting to see price ramp up here on the daily time frame. And if I go back over to 239, seen a big move off of this AMC price here. 22% on the day. Oh my God, you're starting to see the volume come in. This is huge, guys. Absolutely huge. Seeing the breakout like we wanted to freaking see. Let's freaking go, man. Got 145 people in the live right now. Just make sure to slap the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's keep on rocking and rolling, guys. Printing these tendies. I'm just happy all y'all are winning. This is the best earnings we've had on AMC ever, right? Ever. So all of the 2021 squeeze hype does not mirror what we're doing right now, right? The volume is crazy. Yes, sir. Yes, freaking sir. Volume off of that last candle was 2.8 million, the most mirroring the opening bell. Let's see, 233, starting to see a little bit of a rejection here after that 239 tap. The volume that came in here and the velocity in which you moved off of that candle was absolutely insane, guys. I want to see it populate on Robinhood. Come on, do the thing. Do the freaking thing. Crazy day on AMC so far. Would not be surprised to see this start to flag out here to potentially see a further move higher. So we're going to watch for that on the daily time frame. AMC officially showing that wick on TradingView up towards 239, guys. So really, we just talked about the 8% move that you would see very quickly on AMC. You've pretty much closed that gap to now only a 4% move before your next huge resistance on AMC. So now what we're watching for is, can you see that continuation here? That's going to be absolutely huge, guys. Currently sitting at 233 on the daily time frame after the opening bell. The market is clearly reacting towards that earnings call in a very, very positive light, right? You had every single key point of data year over year, freaking phenomenal results. Absolutely, absolutely bullish. The 1 minute, you are doing exactly what we told you would do. You're kind of flagging out here on the 1 minute candle. So seeing as though you're making this coil go even further, it's going to be interesting to see how you can coil here and potentially see your next breakout. We're seeing volume downtrend, which is very indicative of a bullish pennant, but you need to see the 9 minute EMA hold, or the 1 minute 9 hold, right? Seeing a retest. Come on, baby. 1, 2, 3 straight volume bars of consolidation here. Come on, come on. Come on. See a little bit of a bounce. Come on. The tactical move from this. $253. I want to see this hold. Guys, if you can clear this previous high of, what was this wick? 238. Oh, a little bit of a breakdown here off the bullish pennant. Not what you want to see. You're retesting the 50 and retesting this previous resistance as new support. So we're going to see what happens here. We're going to see what happens here. Hold. Hold. So 224 is your current price action. All right. We may take a little breather here and look at the quarter 2 results. You guys let me know what you want me to do in chat. Volume ramping up there off of that SmackDown. Pull this back over. SPY at resistance. AMC. Daily time frame. Getting that. Are we good or what, guys? Traders. Are we good or what? What did we say in our last video on the weekend? You guys can play it back. But we said this downtrend in volume will come to an end. And when it does, you should see explosive volume and explosive price off of these earnings. And that's exactly what you're seeing, right? You're seeing a break in that downtrend in volume. You're seeing a green cross on the MACD. And you're seeing a gap up on price into and above this resistance here. So, I mean, every single bullish thing you could have hoped for today, you're absolutely getting, regardless of the intermittent price. Right? I am absolutely thrilled with today's price action. Absolutely thrilled. This is bullish price action. The volume on the day getting up to 60 million already, guys. This is looking to be the highest volume day since the offering in June 23rd, guys. So pretty phenomenal stuff here. Currently sitting at 226. Still kind of consolidating on previous resistance. So if you can find a higher low here, guys, this thing remains very bullish. Watch out for the 9 EMA curling down here right around your previous support. That's going to be a critical retest right around 228. Right around 228, guys. So we're watching for that. We're watching for that, and we're hoping that you can continue to see these stair steps higher and lower. You could see a potential retest of this 230 area and a shoulder, head, right shoulder in your worst case scenario. Series 65 exam. I actually don't know what that is. I'd be curious. Woo! Look at that candle. Look at that candle. Jeez Louise. Coming in to test your lows on the open at 217 on AMC. Crazy, crazy volatility on this thing as you saw a freaking 10% drop, I believe. Yeah, 10% drop in the span of 7 minutes, guys. Crazy volatility on AMC right now. Crazy, crazy stuff. Starting to see a battle for the 1 minute 200, guys. It's going to be interesting to see. Need to close above it. Need to close above it. I would love for this thing to close. You have to close above 220, guys. That is your absolute mission today. I do not want to see a high volume red close on the day. Do not want to see that. But we're gonna see. Wake up and bounce. I think we're going to take this moment, guys, to go over the quarter two earnings for y'all, and just point out some very, very positive things, right? Right away, something that was mentioned multiple times was contribution margin per patron in dollars, right? This is something that he margined, something that he mentioned multiple freaking times along the earnings call. Getting your margin up while cutting costs is going to be the exact thing that puts you in this position, right? Profitability is measured highly in profit margin. And you can see here the contribution significant, even though it's only about 20 cents here on the difference between fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 25. That is absolutely massive movement when you see the contribution of cuts in cost. We had talked about, where was it? Attendance and patrons, guys. This is absolutely massive as well. You can see the 6-month period, you're multiple thousands of up. And then 2026 to 2025, guys, the difference in June is staggering. And this should kind of get you guys convicted, at least it does for me, in my thesis that you're going to see box office numbers come back and you're going to see AMC continue to run towards profitability here as you see a almost 10,000 difference in the month of June alone, right? Aided by things like Toy Story. So it's hugely bullish there. The cash and cash equivalents is also massive between the 2 years in much different territories between the 2 years, right? Almost a night and day, 778 million of cash on hand compared to last year where we saw 428, right? And this is not just from the offerings, right? But you're also cutting the freaking costs, right? And I think the most bullish thing that I had seen was him mentioning the pushing down of security debt, but also covering of debt. So as AMC continues to absolutely rock the boats in the revenue, you want to see the debt go bye-bye. And that's exactly what you're seeing, right? So easy wins, easy freaking wins. Over 51% off exchange right now. Thanks, Apocalypse. Let's see. Close that gap at 194. Yeah, it might happen. It might happen. Might freaking happen here. You're retesting the horizontal resistance here right around 117. Whether or not you wick, right? This is kind of what I don't want to see. I don't want to see AMC do this. Wick here. Reject 230. And then come all the way back down. I would almost prefer for AMC to just go fill the gap. Just go fill the gap really quick in the day. And then you can see further price action. Because as we get in doubt, right, make sure to zoom out. And you see, you're still rocking and rolling, man. Delete some of these lines. So many lines. So the interesting scenario here, traders, is going back to fill that gap. You have the opportunity to retest your breakout today. So that is also a possibility here. 239, the high of the day so far. Let's go to AMC and let's check out the 1 hour here. Look at that volume is insane on the 1 hour chart. Jeez Louise. 194. Go to the 10-minute. Get out of here. A little bit of a rejection on the 15. 5-minute. You're seeing volume capitulate here, guys. That's the only thing that is in the bull's favor right now for this slide down is look at the volume just absolutely leave the chat after the bullish amounts that came in the AM. That is what's interesting here. I almost want to go to the 1 minute. 1 minute on TradingView is looking very shoulder head, right? Shouldery. If you see that bounce. Putting in a touch of bullish div here. Be careful. Seeing a technical higher low, but on the stock RSI, seeing a lower low on the RSI. You know what that is, traders? What is that? What is that? Hidden bullish divergence. So we may see that bounce up here to retest the 230s. Very, very possible on the 1 minute chart. Thank you, Paul, for sent unk alert for 440 joules. Absolute legend, guys. Give Paul some love in the chat. So we're watching right now for this break of this downtrend, and it looks like you're going to get it on the 1 minute chart to see that bounce of this uptrend on the short-term time frames. We're watching for what is potentially hidden bullish divergence on the 1 minute as you see a lower low on the stock RSI and a higher low off of the price. This is a very real example for you guys of how you can use the RSI to potentially spot bottoms in trends, right? So this is fascinating to kind of show you guys. You're seeing the break in the volume trend as well here, which is also a very good sign for the short term. Woo! Let's freaking go. See, bottoming route right around 220. Get some hearts in the chat, guys. Get some likes. Get some subs. Get some freaking love down here. Get some love in the chat. Whoops. All right, we got 261 guys in the live chat. Welcome in to our freaking channel, guys. We cover AMC every single day, GameStop, as well as the Jimmy Warrants and NEO, IWM, a lot of risk on asset based stocks. And our whole thesis going throughout the last couple of years has been AMC is going to rip. Why is that, guys? Your quarterly MACD making its first flip ever since 2021, guys. And you saw some pretty historic moves and volatility from that. I just want to give you guys a prime example of what you should expect. Maybe not expect, right? Maybe I should dial that in, but not a financial advisor. But what you can correlate the quarterly MACD cross to, right? This is HYMC. You guys remember it fondly, I'm sure. This is just one example of what can happen from a quarterly MACD flip, $2 flipped into 56, right? That is a macro change of momentum for the stock. And that's exactly what you're starting to see here on AMC after seeing a 300% ripper on the freaking stock. Only in paradise. No, sir. No work today. Week after earnings, typically very positive for AMC. AMC's seen a little bit of a bounce here on the 1 minute, and you should expect to see some volatility as soon as you cross above the RSI band and the 50 line as you kind of make this shoulder, head, right shoulder. So if you can hold this uptrend, you should see a nice little peaky weeky above this flat top resistance. Right around 220, guys. That's your line to break. Hold the freaking line. Oh. Beyond that, though, guys, the quarterly MACD, absolutely massive, right? I don't want to take that away from anyone. Absolutely freaking massive. And this is just one of the many things that we've talked about on this channel that can be historically bullish, right? Look at IWM and look at the last time you broke this horizontal resistance. You saw 2021 squeeze, right? You saw a very indicative risk on market. What are you doing right now, right? Your biggest quarterly candle just printed on IWM up 21%, the biggest since 2021. Traders, there are so many different setups in this market that are indicative of a very small cap market, right? So that's what we're watching for on the larger time frame. Just want to take a little when in doubt, zoom out aspect. You have a downtrend in the RSI, which is interesting. You did create a touch of bearish divergence here on the 1 minute. Sorry that I missed that. But that is probably why you're seeing this spillover as you made a higher high, but a lower high on the RSI. Another example. We'll see if this weird RSI wedge holds in the 1 minute. We shall see. What other questions do we have for me, guys, in the markets, in AMC? What questions do we have while you have me here live? I'd love to freaking engage with you guys right now. Bring on the questions. I'm here for you guys. $71 million shares traded now. Absolutely massive volume coming in. I wish I could answer that, but I cannot answer that question. Do we think we can see 32 again? Abso-freaking-lutely. Beast mode, I do. What's the rest of the box office look like for the year? What's the gap we created at open? Want to set a spot. So the gap you created at open, I'll start there. You create a gap currently sitting at So two different platforms are showing me two different things, right? I'm seeing 205 on Webull. I prefer TradingView. TradingView is showing me on the daily time frame. Let's see. Also 205. So I guess on the daily time frame, I'm seeing 205. Let's see. But I'm seeing different ones on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. 1 hour is showing me 194. So you could walk all the way back down to 194. I think that's a very possible scenario. Whether or not it happens, we're going to have to wait and see. Only time will tell. But I do believe the daily gap is 205 for you guys. What's the rest of the box office look like? We're going to get into that in just a second. And then, do you think we'll see 32? I covered this in the previous part of this video, guys, but the VRVP is looking absolutely immaculate. So if you can see this larger scale bottoming swing up here, it's likely, traders, getting above what is this wick? What is this wick? 556 unlocks a move into $7 based off of this slide down, right? Just playing wick to wick. Getting above 7, guys, as we saw in the VRVP, is going to really cause a ripper, probably into 10, which is your previous all-time low. The entire macro thesis of AMC predicates on getting above your previous all-time low, in my opinion, right? If you saw a rejection here, that's pretty bearish, right? I mean, you saw it here after retesting, this automatic retest, and you saw a slide from freaking $13 all the way down to 90 cents, right? That is not what we want to see. We want to see strength. We want to see volume, and you need to get back above this $10 mark. And I do think you're going to test it at some point. I just have no idea when, right? I'm not going to give you guys dates. I just do believe that this level is critical and that it will be tested, especially after positive earnings like you got today, right? The company is going in the right direction. You can see the multiple gap downs here, and that is your key takeaway for whether or not this thing can get back above 32. Can you fill your technical gap fills on the daily time frame, right? 1940, $43. What's the actual official gap? Your official gap here is 43.32. So 43.32 is going to be absolutely huge. You do have a crap ton of resistance at $34, guys. As you can see, $34 was your tap. And you can almost say, right, those taps came in a very specific area because that was a previous uptrend that you held. Let's kind of get rid of this horizontal resistance. You can almost say that you may come back to retest this previous uptrend. And that would be absolutely insane, guys. You can see the distance that you would have to cover in order to get there. But I would not be surprised if this thing were to squeeze and go into this gap fill, right? Because you could still fill the gap and retest right around 50, depending on when it happens, right? It's no guarantee, but I would expect a pretty massive move off of the break of this falling wedge. So we're just going to have to wait and see, inevitably. Only in Paradise, thank you for reiterating. 194. Let's just ask. AI will tell us. We shall see, guys. AMC currently sitting at 216. If it hits $50, I'm retiring. That would be crazy. I hope for your sake that it does. Anyone got certain price targets they're looking to get out at? I will not tell you any. I'm sorry. I cannot tell you that. I'm not a financial advisor. You can see this very clear falling wedge, though. And we've talked about the technical profit target being the January and June squeeze, because that's the full length of the wedge. Depending on where you break out, right, that could line up pretty nicely. There is a reality in which you spill back over. Maybe something huge happens. I don't know, catastrophic black swan. And then you spill over to make another lower low, and then you break out. Right. And then that trend line and the breakout target aligns pretty nicely. But we will have to wait and see, guys. Truthfully, I know nothing about the future, but the chart is telling me bullish. So I'm bullish. Mm, 50, I will also retire. Let's see. Everyone's just saying they'll retire. That's funny. As of mid-July 2026, we've already seen major hits with a strong mix of animated blockbusters. These are some of the top performers, as we know. Super Mario Galaxy, 1 billion. Michael, 1 billion. Toy Story 5, pretty much $1 billion. Devil Wears Prada, $500 million. Project Hail Mary, $500 million, right? Other noticeable blockbusters like Pegasus 3, Obsession, Backrooms, Hoppers, Minions, and Monsters have also contributed solidly. So this is what we have to look up to and forward to upcoming, right? The Odyssey, still not all the numbers attributed to this. Moana, Disney musical with Dwayne Johnson. Some people have already seen that, and I've heard good things. Spider-Man, this is one that I've heard highly anticipated for people similar to Toy Story that aren't usually moviegoers. So that's always for me the most encouraging sign that you could see something pretty big here on Spider-Man. And then Evil Dead Burn, fall winter blockbusters, Hunger Games, Sunrise, Dune Part 3, Avengers, Doomsday in December is going to be lights out, guys. I'm excited for that one. I will be hopefully watching that in theaters and excited to see how it performs, because this could be one of your biggest movies in the last 5 years. And when you talk about 2019, guys, the last time Avengers had a true blockbuster, 2019 or 2016, I believe, is where you saw that peak. Overall trends and predictions, strengths, risks, forecast. Bullish, right? That's really what you have to look up to. Marvel movies coming out, big ones, Spider-Man and let's see. Rocky gonna be huge. I actually did not see that in there. Did it say that? Batman. Resident Evil is pretty cool. Angry Birds. Interesting. For those who don't know, Apocalyptic Knife Works, dude's got a pretty cool story. He's in the Discord. Discord is still free at the moment, and I would love for you guys to check him out. Cool dude. Cool dude. Lauren says, I'm new to this. What is a squeeze? So a squeeze is when short sellers are forced to close positions because of upwards trajectory. Shorts are pretty much people betting against the stock, but buying the stock in order to do so, right? So there is a thesis called naked short selling in which people fabricate shares, and whether or not that's occurring on AMC, I know we all have our opinions. I do believe it is. This can force the price towards infinite risk for short sellers, right? There is no price that is the cap on buying these shares back. And if the whole thing is if retail holds, right, you can see this thing continue to spiral while shorts need their shares back. And that is the contingency, is shorts need to buy their shares back, right? That is the biggest thing. Drifter Tom Cruise. That's funny. Currently hitting about 9:15 a.m. where I'm at, traders. I just want to say thank you guys all for tuning into the live stream. If you haven't already, slap the freaking like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll do a little bit more due diligence on AMC, and then we're going to probably wrap it up here. I wanted to cover the daily time frame because that's, to me, the most important. Looking at the daily time frame, we very clearly have a gap here, right? 205. You're currently sitting 214. I think it's likely today that you continue to slide down to fill that gap. And I don't think that it has to close there, right? If you can do it sooner rather than later, you can see this thing bounce in a really impactful way. And I think a run based off of the shares already, right? We'll give this a little refresh. It's very possible you finish green today, even though you are down. Whoops. There we go. You're already at 75.8 million shares, guys. Absolutely huge freaking day. Yeah, only in paradise. The bear. This man is too funny. All right. weekly time frame. Do not want to see it close down here. I would anticipate that the week continues to slide upwards. Closing the week here would be nasty, man. Nasty. It'd be a huge rejection off 222, like we talked about. We want to see that break on the weekly. Zoom out. Continuing to test this down sloping support. Break that trend line. A little bit of a rounding formation here. So I do think it's likely you come back to fill this gap fill like we talked about, right? As you see price continue to kind of slide here, you might see relief bounces off of these breaks and downtrend, but we shall see, guys. And that's what I got for the day. Covering AMC. It's been a freaking blast. I always love doing live streams because you guys are super supportive. And for me, I think it's super cool to see the live price action on AMC. It gets the heart fluttering on the day. So as always, guys, God bless each and every single one of you. Hope you had a freaking phenomenal day with the AMC earnings. Absolutely amazing earnings. I'll do a recap video, whether later today or tomorrow. It's my birthday today, so I'm going to see the family, right? Enjoy the day, drink a strawberry margarita. And as always, I do believe the best is yet to come for AMC. So I'm excited genuinely for what is going to happen going forward. So it's been a pleasure, guys. Much love and peace. Woo! Let's freaking go, guys.